Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. And the 2020 SHOT Show is right around the corner, and you guys know what that means. I'll be there along with my video producer Thomas so that we can cover all the great new product releases from all the big knife brands across the industry. But before we get there, a few of the items that are new for 2020 are actually starting to show up already. So for this SHOT Show preview, I've pulled a few of those brand new items for us to check out right now. Let's do it. We've got our hands on a couple of the new Benchmades that are going to be shipping soon, and the first is a new iteration of the Bug-Out. This is the 535BK-2, and although it may look something like a Bug-Out out there that you may have seen already, it's actually a little bit different and a little bit better. It's got a S30V blade like the rest of the Bug-Out family, nice and thin with a black DLC coating, and at first glance you may think these handles are black, but they're actually a really dark graphite color. And the other thing is, this is not made out of their normal Grivery material either. They're calling this handle material CF Elite. And instead of a material like Grivery or FRN, where they use glass fibers to reinforce the resin, in this case they're using carbon fiber. That's where the CF and CF Elite comes from. Now this has always been an ultralight pocket knife, but because of that switch in material, they're able to make it even just ever so slightly lighter and more rigid as well. Now, I was a little skeptical about that at first, but when you compare it to one of the normal Bug-Outs, there is definitely a little more structural rigidity when you squeeze on the handles there. You still can flex them a little bit, but that's mostly due to the mostly open nature of these handle scales. Honestly, even if you have some metal like aluminum scales, you can flex those just a little bit. But there is a noticeable improvement in the torsional rigidity, or the flex that you get out of these handles versus the standard Grivery. So that's a really appreciated thing. I know there's some folks out there who don't like the Bug-Out because they think it's a little too flexy. Well, this goes a long way to addressing that, I think, for sure. It's got their same great axis lock, so you got ambidextrous motion, or ambidextrous opening and closing. And the hardware on the back is sort of an anodized gray color, rather than being completely blacked out like some of those other Bug-Outs out there. It's sort of a matte color, and that graphite finish goes really nicely with that ever so slightly not pure black handle that you got right there. I really like it, and the price on these are going to be $144.50. All right, now we've got a new version of the Bailout that has seen some very significant upgrades versus the original Bailout. This is the 537GY-1, and the first thing you'll notice, of course, is it's green, and if you look closer, this is no longer Grivery either. They've actually gone with aluminum handle structure, or aluminum handle construction here, and it really transforms this knife. There's a little bit of a radius going on to the handles, and they're calling this color Woodland Green. It's a really nice anodized color, and they've left it sort of a matte finish. There's a little bit of texture, feels almost like it's a bead blasted finish. I really like it, you guys. Especially, like, it feels great. You know, as I mentioned with the Bug-Out just a minute ago, even with metal scales, technically you can flex it just a little bit, but you really do have to squeeze pretty hard. This feels rock solid for such a slim, carrying lightweight knife. Now it does weigh a little bit more than the Bug-Out, which comes in at under 2 ounces. We're at 2.7 with this, but still that is incredibly lightweight and easy to carry. But that's not the only upgrade, these handle scales. They've changed the shape just a little bit, and they've changed the bail on the end here. No longer do we have a full slot going on. They've kind of closed some of it off and added a glass breaker to the pommel right there. Really nice little bit of extra utility, and along with the change in the blade, which I'll get to in a second, and with those much more solid handles, I think this becomes a much more compelling option for those tactical people out there, especially those who aren't necessarily using their knife as a primary tool, but need a slim, easy carrying backup. I really like this one. Now the steel, as I said, or the blade, got an upgrade. Instead of 3V, we've got M4 in this case. It really goes a long way to making this thin blade. Again, it's thin like the Bug-Out, but it's going to be a pretty darn tough blade for the type of thinness you're getting. And I like the coating they've got on it as well. It's a gray Cerakote, kind of has sort of a matte sandblasted look to it as well. Pairs really nicely with the handle. And honestly, you know, this is not me BSing. I'm not really much of a Tanto profile guy. There's part of me that really wants to slip this into my EDC rotation. I like it a lot. The feel is, you got to feel it to believe it. It's great. You get a full grip on it. Nice, easy size to carry. I feel like you've got a lot of capability in this small package. Price on these are a little bit higher. We're running at $222.50, on this knife right now. And both of these Benchmades are available for pre-order right now at the Knife Center. They're gonna be shipping very soon. All right, next I've got a handful of new things from CRKT. They've got a ton of new releases that they're dropping at SHOT Show this year, and we're gonna be working our way through them in the coming weeks. But the first one I wanna show you right now ahead of SHOT Show is the Lynchpin, which is the latest folder to carry their Deadbolt lock. Now, much like the Seismic, which CRKT used a year ago to debut this new locking mechanism, the Lynchpin is designed by Flavio Ikoma. And honestly, out of all the Deadbolt knives they've released so far, I like this one the best. I think it's got the most usable profile, the most EDC-friendly profile overall. But it's a bigger knife too. We've got about 3 3/4 of an inch of blade steel here. It's made with 4116 German stainless steel, with a nice flat grind, some interesting shapes going on here at the top, some nice swedges along there to add a little bit of visual interest. And I love the sweep to the edge. I like that it's gonna follow the curve of your arm. It's not a super deep continuous curve, but it is there. You guys know I like that. I've talked about that sort of thing before. We've got GRN handles. They're black, and they have sort of this wood or crocodilian texture, depending on where you look, actually molded into it. Fits my hand pretty well. I've got hands that are on the larger size a little bit, but I've still got plenty of real estate. And of course, you've got that really broad finger choil here that kind of gets rid of some of the dead space around the pivot mechanism, so you can choke up and get little finer control of that blade as well. So it's got a reversible pocket clip. It's a bit of a smaller design. It's not a super big design. And even though it's folded over itself, it's not completely deep carry. You do have a little bit sticking out of the top there. And you've got a little bit of a lanyard hole integrated into the back spacer right there as well. Now, when it comes to the locking mechanism itself, you can see this oversized pivot right here, but that's actually the button as well as the pivot. You push in there to disengage the lock. And you can see this kind of diagonal plate on the other side gets pushed out, and anchored into that plate are 2 bolts of steel that actually run through the tang of the knife, keeping it secure. So even if one of those were to shear off, you've still got another one to hold that blade nice and secure. Another added bonus to this type of construction is you can keep your fingers completely out of the closing path of the blade when you need to go and close the knife. And in addition, you can even flick it closed. This one was a little bit sticky right here. It hasn't quite broken in yet, but all the Deadbolt knives that we've handled in the past, especially once they're broken in, they flick open very nice and easily just by holding that down. So I don't foresee a problem right there. Like I said, this one's fresh out of the box, but still flips quite nice, I gotta say. Really cool knife. We're at about just under 120 bucks with this knife. And again, that's the Lynchpin. Now, when CRKT released the images on their website of all the new models, this next one was actually the one I was looking forward to the most. And I gotta say, I wasn't disappointed either. The Overland model from TJ Schwartz, it's nice. I really like it. Of course, a lot of you guys out there have heard me talk before about how I'm a big camp kitchen guy. Well, as a folder goes, this is right in that alley. In fact, we're going so far as to think this is kind of the poor man's Spidey Chef. If you're into that sort of knife but can't afford that, this knife is only $44.95. We've got that nice little drop to the edge with the handle angled slightly up. So if you were gonna need to do any surface work, like say on a cutting board, it's gonna be very easy to do. Now, if this is anything like that Spidey Chef I just mentioned, it's not so much gonna be something you're gonna do a lot of, say, rock chopping with, but on the draw cut, on the draw stroke, this is a great design, and you get presented with some really nice cutting geometry as you're drawing through. So I really appreciate that, and I really like seeing it at this price point as well. The steel is 8CR13 MOV, and we've got a black stonewashed handle. Now, when I measured it from the very, very tip of the blade down to the front of the handle scales, this particular one was just a hair over 3 inches. Now, that there may be a little bit of variance out there, but if you are concerned about your knife coming in at under that 3-inch mark, just be aware that this one may or may not quite hit it. So your mileage may vary. I haven't checked any of the other ones that we've got on the shelf right now, which I should have mentioned, all of these CRKTs are shipping right now from the Knife Center. So you can get these. You don't have to wait until after SHOT Show. We've got a G10 handle scale on the front and a stainless steel frame lock on the back with a similar black stonewashed finish. And I like a few of the details they've been able to incorporate here. One, they kept it nice and slim. This is not a really bulky knife in your pocket, so it's gonna be a great EDC, even beyond any sort of like camp kitchen stuff. I mean, that's a very usable shape. You've got sort of a modified Wharncliffe, or modified sheep's foot, I should say, going on here. Really nice usable tip. It's gonna be a great box cutter. Really good EDC, I think. And very easy to carry, again, because it's nice and slim. Got a folded over pocket clip. Again, it's not super deep carry. We do have a little bit sticking up above there. This is a right-hand side only clip though. We don't have any holes on the opposite side, so it's right side tip up carry. Now they could have simply just popped a pocket clip on here and called it a day, but they've actually done a few extra steps that make it even nicer. One, they've milled out a section in the steel frame itself so that the clip sits lower in the frame, it doesn't stick up. And then they've made the screws themselves flush as well. You don't have the screw head sticking up. So it's nice and slim. You've got a smooth stainless steel frame there, and it's gonna go into your pocket very easily, even though it's a nice, thin, low profile clip. And then it's even got an over travel arrestor. You can see it mounted with a screw to the outside here to keep you from pushing that frame lock out too far. Guys, this is a really cool knife, I gotta say. All of us down here in our downstairs office here are really happy with the way this is looking. That's the CRKT Overland. All right, this next one is a new assisted opening design from CRKT. It's called the Xan, it's X-A-N. Now this one I think is gonna be a little bit divisive to people out there, so I'm gonna kind of show you what's going on and let you guys decide for yourselves. Make sure you chime in the comments what you think of this knife. We've got 4116 stainless steel, about 3.7 inches in length, with a matte finish, or sort of a satin finish. Looks almost bead blasted, but feels a little bit smoother, so I'm not sure exactly the process they're using. And then we've got carbon fiber front scale that actually has a nylon or some sort of acrylic overlay on top of that, where you can get, it adds a little bit of texture that they put onto it. And it adds a little bit of extra sheen kind of on top of the carbon fiber as well. Now here's where things get interesting, or get a little bit different, I should say. We've got a stainless steel frame lock on the back and a very out there clip design, I think. It's folded over, again, not completely deep carry, you do have some sticking up, but it curves over to the side like so, and it looks different. It looks kind of odd, I gotta say. It may look better actually mounted to the top. You can carry this tip up or tip down right side, and that may actually help it flow with the lines of the spine a little bit better. That said, we tested it out in the pocket. It actually feels pretty fine, and it doesn't really create too much of a hot spot, or at least no more of a hot spot than any other pocket clip ever does on any typical folding knife. But the real interesting thing with this knife is the way they've achieved the assisted opening action. If you look in the spine here, and actually you can see it a little bit through the in the cutout to the lock bar there, they've got a long rod, a long metal rod that's under tension that actually interfaces with the tang of the knife to affect that assisted opening action. So when the knife is closed, that springed rod is under tension, so that just like any assisted opener, once you start to manually open the blade, it'll take over and complete the action. It's not super crazy strong because of that. You do, it's not like you have to work hard to get the blade open, but you may want to put just a little bit more thumb action into it. And also, it's a little easier to close than some of the other things out there, like, I don't know, let's say for example, Kershaw's Speed Safe design, is you get a little bit more tension there at the back. And likewise, if you've got it open here, there's no tension left, so the spring's not gonna pop it open, which at the end of the day, that might be desirable actually, because you're not gonna have to fight the spring as much when you do go to close it. It only acts on it in kind of this first little section of travel right there. But anyway, that's the Xan, $89.99. Let us know what you think of this design there down in the comments. All right, so those are some new models, and they've actually got a few cool new variants of some existing models as well. The first one I think is gonna do gangbusters. We've got a copper handled scale, or a copper front scale version of the Pilar for $54.99, just a $55 knife with that scale on the front, which if you were ever buying a copper scale aftermarket for this knife, it was probably almost this expensive, if not more so, to begin with. But it's the same great Jesper Vaknea's design, that shorter blade, 2.4 inches or thereabouts, 8CR13 MOV stainless steel. And I'm kind of holding it from the back here because I don't want to get my fingerprints on it, because honestly, that's one of the great things about a copper handle or any copper material EDC item you're carrying. It's going to develop its own character and patina as you actually handle it. So each one is going to be very much your own. And this one has a bit of a matte, almost bead blasted texture as well. So there's, in a way, that kind of increases the surface area a little bit. So there's more for, more area for the oils from your hand to get trapped in. That patina is going to get going even faster. To keep the weight down, they actually have milled out a few pockets on the inside as well. We'll try to get a good shot of that, but that's going to keep that weight to a more manageable level, so you're not really weighing down your pockets with this new version. Next up, we've got a new version of the Minimalist, the Allen Fultz Minimalist fixed blade, now with a cleaver style blade. And I gotta say, my reaction when I first saw this, again on CRKT's website, was not sure how usable it's gonna be. It may be usable, but that was my initial reaction. Not quite sure how usable it's gonna be, but I really like it. It's really cool. It's not just a rectangle sticking out there. You do have a little bit of flare going on here at the top. You've got a swedge, a little bit of an up kick, but it's got that same great minimalist handle that's on all the other blade shapes. We've got a resin infused fiber handle and those really aggressive finger grooves that let you get those 3 fingers right in there, and the included lanyard that lets you get your pinky gripping onto that knife as well. And honestly, I think this is gonna make a great box opener. If you're doing a lot of that day to day, this is gonna be a really cool little utility knife. Gonna be good for tip work on a cutting board again as well. Not really food prep, it is a tiny blade. We're only just over 2 inches there. But it's a fun little knife, and it's only $26 or $25.95. And for that, you even get the sheath, one would hope, and you do. Nice molded sheath with some paracord. No, sorry, what is this? No, that is paracord, check that out. And a slide lock there as well. Really fun little package. All of these Minimalists have been, and that's a cool little cleaver blade shape to expand the line. Now these next 2 knives you may have seen us show you in some of our new items videos of the week recently, but I want to show them to you again because these are going to be some of the marquee items that these companies are going to be showing off at SHOT Show this year. The first one is the Scopo, which if you remember that last video where I showed this, I'm a really big fan of this design as well. We're at $259.25 and we've got a 20 CV blade on here. Again, it's got a nice continuous curve, I like that, and some compound grinds going on to kind of break things up and make it look a little more sexy, but they serve a purpose too. We've got hollow grinds on both sections, but a higher hollow grind on the bevel, or on the belly I should say, which is gonna make it more acute on those slicing cuts, any of those longer slicing cuts. I would say hunting, like I said, this seems like a good hunting profile, but I don't think anyone's actually gonna be taking this type of knife out hunting. Does have that blade shape though. Now the reason I personally like referring to this as a kind of split integral design is they've managed to hide away the attachment points that bolt these 2 sides together very well. We're actually not entirely sure how they've done it or where exactly it is screwed together. You can bet that's something I'm going to ask them there at SHOT Show, but as a result, you have a very clean handle profile on both sides. No screws looking like warts kind of messing up the design, and it allows them to get a very streamlined and elegant handle shape, beveled real nicely with a bit of a stonewashed texture, and I especially love it with this particular color contrast right here. There are a couple different versions as well though. But that's the Scopo. I love it. I think you guys are gonna like it for any of you guys who get your hands on it out there. All right, last but not least is a new Hogue. Now they actually showed prototypes of this last year at Blade Show 2020 or 2019. So we're expecting them to have the full lineup for the first time at a show at SHOT Show in just a week and a half's time. And these just came in the door, so these are definitely a 2020 release for them. This is a smaller knife. We have sort of a 3¼ inch blade, very similar in size actually to that Benchmade bug out. There's definitely some differences there. You can bet we're gonna be doing a comparison video between those knives in just a short amount of time for sure. But you got a 20 CV blade here as well, 2 different shapes. You got a clip point as well as this modified Wharncliffe blade right here that also has some compound grinds going on. We've got G10 handles with a nice bit of texture and Hogue's Able Lock, which is their take. They're definitely gunning for Benchmade there. It's their take on the Axis style lock that we're calling just a crossbar lock these days. Able Lock is what they're calling it though. It stands for Ambidextrous Bar Lock Enhanced. Of course it is ambidextrous, going through both sides of the handle, and they have it tuned so exceptionally well. I'm a very big fan of the way they're executing this lock. It's just exceptionally smooth, and not to dig on Benchmade at all, but I really think Hogue is the ones to beat right now in terms of the smoothness of their version of this lock. Prices on these start around at $140, depending on which version you get. This one right here is just under $150, but we're really excited to get to talk to the people behind the knife at SHOT Show real soon. So that's all I've got to show you right now, but make sure you're tuning in to this channel during SHOT Show, where we're gonna be pumping videos out on all the great knife companies. I'm going to be visiting all the heavy hitters, seeing all the new stuff, giving you my color commentary along with the representatives there. What are you guys excited to see? There's a lot of cool stuff. Make sure you let us know in the comments. We'll try to get to everybody. It is going to be impossible, fair warning though, but we'll try. In the meantime, if you want to get your hands on any of these knives right here, either for pre-order or ordering outright, like I said, the CRKTs are shipping now. You can click the links in the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you at SHOT Show.
Slow down!
Grivery handles either. They're calling these... Can't speak today.
You didn't have that problem earlier.
Well, it could be a string cheese knife.
Can't use this.